Now, 5 elements of the landing page. So we're going to talk about landing page now. So this is what I would normally look at on a landing page. So we're trying to basically generate a lead for some artwork, or we're trying to get people to fill out a form for an event, or we've got a new product we're about to launch, and it's probably a higher ticket item. Maybe we want people just to request information, so become a prospect, because prospects are easy to generate the leads, people wanting information. Or we're doing a workshop. We're trying to get more people to come in and do a workshop. It's a training event. A landing page is normally broken into these elements. So headline. So let's say one of the art centres here, we're going to do workshops to try to get people in to learn how to do pottery, for example, pottery classes. I think that's what they do. So the headline would be discover how to do pottery like the experts. The questions is, have you been interested in pottery but want to know the ways on how to do that, for example. Features and benefits. Come to this pottery class. In this class we'll show you how to, does anyone know anything about pottery in here? So what would you learn how to do with pottery?
Hand throw, hand build, wheelwork.
Yep.
Yeah, glaze.
Yep, how to glaze. This is great. How to, anything with the word how to. I can do all of this stuff in this $15 workshop. Call to action. Fill out this form, limited places, registration of interest, Eventbrite or whatever platform, and then urgency, like 20 places available. That's a landing page that works, basically. And then you hit your database with that, and then you're trying to get, that number of bookings. And I normally like to do a registration of interest before getting them to pay online. You can actually get them to pay online. But registration of interest is a bit of a shy yes, so saying yes, and you follow up with payment later on. So that's a landing page example. Let's go with a piece of art. Piece of art perfect for motels, for example, or cafes, right? Questions. Are you looking for a piece of art and maybe you might go for different markets. You might go for your home, for a cafe, for a business. Here is a great piece of art. Here are the features, and then your unique points about that piece of art. Call to action. Maybe like a price point, or maybe not put a price point on it because you want them to inquire to ask for the price, so you can actually talk to them. Because if you give the price, sometimes they don't inquire. Price is a great way to get people to inquire. And then, this has just been released, so you're releasing that piece of art, making it look like it's going to go straight away, So, landing page, there's some key aspects of a landing page. Now, I'm going to give you a self-assessment. Now, we'll be able to give these slides out to everyone in the room. So, in terms of website and landing page, is that clear now what's the landing page and what's the website? Have I got that message across?
And just quickly with that, are you then aiming to drive any traffic to your product, to your landing page, not to your website?
Yes, landing pages work better than websites. Websites is a bunch of landing pages. A landing page is one particular marketing focus. But it all ties together because you need the website. And some people have their landing pages on their website because they get a lot of traffic go to the website, click here, and then they go to the latest events page, which would take them to the events landing page. So the two things can work together quite well. So here is some self-assessment about your website and your landing pages. Are my messages clear? Is my content relevant to my target market? Does my content communicate what I'm offering? So features and benefits. Does my design assist with online conversion? So is it encouraging people to fill out a form or maybe enter that name and email address with an incentive to get more information about something? Do I have a strong opt-in? So an opt-in is exactly that. They're opting in for something. Is it easy for people to respond to for what I have to offer? There's no form on that. If you're trying to sell something and there's no form on there, it's not easy because they have to click on the phone number. If you have a form, it just makes it easier for them to respond. Am I utilising galleries well? I think with art, galleries is basically it. Your product is visual. So those galleries, and I think there are ways of doing galleries which could be more effective than the websites that I saw. Galleries, I really recommend if you do art, really look at the way you format your galleries. Having don't just have your art on there, have some key features about it as well, and relevant points. And how you categorise your galleries as well is quite important. So the simplification of trying to find, and maybe categorise based on application, if you're thinking marketing. What is this good for? For your home, for a business, make those messages, because at the end of the day, they're the people buying the product. Can people easily buy what I have online? So if you are doing something transactional, is it easy for them to, the one thing in sales and marketing they say is, are you asking for the sale? Are you making it easy for them to respond? Am I tracking the results of my marketing? So how do you track if you don't have a form, And maybe you have on your form, how did you find out about us? Putting in some tracking mechanisms. And there's things like tracking phone numbers as well. If you do get a lot of phone calls come through, you can actually track with phone numbers what keyword they typed in to make a phone call. And do I have relevant keywords placed throughout my website? If you say that. I had an interior designer, so I have worked with some creative industries, and what they get business from overseas because their galleries. Now this is a really important point. Write this one down. If you've got a gallery on your website, save the file name as a keyword and put in the tags as keywords, because these guys have kitchen design galleries all over their website. And when people go to Google Images, they get traffic from everywhere. So they've got people typing a particular style of kitchen design. Because their image was saved as that keyword, it's ranked in images or for whatever reason, and they've actually got business from Europe from it. So I think the key aspect is save the image as the keyword. So, think of a keyword, for example, portrait photos Canberra.jpg, and then put that in the meta tags for the
I've done this for a year. I've tracked all the results, and I found it's very easy for my images to top on the high rank of Google
Images.
But it's not for Google ranking in terms
No.
of search.
Yes.
So that's the painful part. So instead of just adding keywords to images, I found actually keywords in blocks that's actually work much better than
Yeah.
just
So
adding-
keywords, the point you're making here is quite important. Keywords is more focused around content. So if you want to rank organically in Google, now just I'm going to say this, cramming keywords in your website will not make you rank in Google. It'll start the process, but it's more relevant to content. So three key areas of content. So how do you put keywords in your website so that it starts the process of ranking in Google? So once again, this is a whole workshop, but your title tags, so right at the top of the website, and maybe just Google title tags later on. Headlines, so anything with big fonts, so family photography Canberra or wedding photography Canberra, big headlines, and hyperlinks, so anything with a link. They're the three areas that work best for content. But SEO is a whole workshop, so I might move on from that.
No, it's like a whole group ethic.
Yeah. But that will get you started. I just want to point you guys in the right direction. So you're thinking holistically about how these things work together. I might ask that, what time are we at? Because I feel like I need to go on express.
11:34.
Okay, good, we've got an hour. So,
Well, you were talking about
Yeah, go for it.
in terms of keywords and text and hovering over, so you actually don't, like, I was just thinking you might not want a lot of text on your website, but to be able to supply text, how do you actually do that?
well, look, at the end of the day, we can do this by big rocks. We can get into all the specifics of those things. But I think these are the big rocks. Let's talk about this. I'll pause. I think the website is obviously a big rock in terms of your marketing. It's quite an important thing. So I think we've got time. So let's spend a little bit more time on this. So what I'm going to do is I'll answer that question. So hovering text over photos. So the big rock here is content. So one thing I'll really recommend you to do is you're going to come up with you're going to look at these websites, you're going to have all these ideas. So how it works is you need to have a good content management system. So a lot of these content management systems, the old way of building a website was you'd go to a web developer and you'd say, can you make my text toddler, or can you do a gallery? And what they would do is they would go in and they'd find all these different plugins and build your website. Now WordPress is a really good open source content management system. But what I'm finding I'm doing more is I'm going to cloud systems, right? So the difference between open source and cloud, I'll explain this. Because it's more about, it's like MYD, you need a good system, basically, for your website. So an open source system is basically a way of managing your website. That's a platform to manage your website. And the whole of the world's community can contribute to how you build that website. So there's things like plugins. So for example, that what you said then would be a plugin that you could plug in. So if you're on, who's got a WordPress website? Who's got, let's say, Joomla? Okay, who's got Drupal? No. Who's, okay, Drupal. Who's got Magento, which is an e-commerce system. So what I'm doing is I'm flagging names of content management systems. So these are systems to manage your website.
What about Dreamweaver?
Dreamweaver,
What do you say?
yeah, Dreamweaver is not a content management. That's a software program to manage HTML. And you can manage your content in it, but most business owners don't use Dreamweaver. Someone sets up a website in Dreamweaver, and then you plug in a content management system. So you're actually quite a savvy person if you're using Dreamweaver. Have you used Dreamweaver to manage your website? Yeah, that's great. Now, in terms of design, so I'm going to give you some really good advice right now, okay, about a website, because I know this is a big thing for people. If you're a small business, I'm going to save you thousands of dollars. To get a really nice designed website, you normally have to spend quite a bit of money, right? Now, the more cost-effective way of setting up a website is getting a good design. Let's break it into some key things. Getting a good design and also plugging in a good content management system. Now, to get a designer to do a design can be quite expensive for a small business. So there's an Australian guy who put this website together called ThemeForest.net.
What is it?
ThemeForest.net. Has anyone heard of ThemeForest yet?
I use that for all my clients'
Yeah.
websites.
The awesome thing about ThemeForest is you can get a brilliant, amazing design for your website for $15. Now, once again, we're only talking a design. You still need to plug in a content management system, but just a design. There are systems out there which I don't really like Wix. Who's heard of Wix? The Wix template. Wix is like a free, you buy a template. It's not that. A ThemeForest is you're buying the design. Once you have the design, you need to choose a content management system to put it into. Now, the things that I've talked about, so let's say design for conversion, that's more about how you're going to take that design you bought and actually make it conversion friendly. There's one thing I will say about ThemeForest templates, they look good, but you still need to add in those conversion elements. So the most cost-effective way of setting up a website is buying a design. ThemeForest have thousands of really great designs. Buying it, but actually working with someone to then reformat that and start adding in marketing elements. Once that's done, you then need to plug it into a content management system. Now, so it's a couple of terms here, open source versus like a cloud product. All of those systems we talked about before are open source content management systems. I used to use those. I actually use an Adobe product. I think the way things are going to go now is cloud. So software as a service. So software as a service is basically you're subscribing to a software package which has all of that functionality in it and it's supported. Sorry, can I ask
Is
you a
that what
question?
Shopify is?
Yes, Shopify is a perfect example of a cloud product. Now, if you're not a technical person, right, and you're just like, this is too much information, I'd probably go with something like that because it's well supported, they have videos, training. The one that I use is an Adobe product, and it's got in there a content management system, it's got in there email marketing, it's got in there an event management system and e-commerce. It's similar to Shopify, but it has a few more modules. But what I'm trying to stress here is do the research. It's not as simple as just going and getting a website done. You've kind of got to look at the different platforms and then going, how am I going to manage that over time? And do I want to be using 3 or 4 different platforms? And which is the technology section. So that's what I just said then, that's going to potentially save you a lot of money, because that took me a lot of time to work out. But those things you spoke about before, so if you're kind of looking at websites, you're going, well, I want a hover system, right? How that works is if you're in WordPress, you look for a plugin for that, and then you get a WordPress developer to plug that in. The good thing about the software as a service like Shopify and this Adobe platform I use, a lot of that stuff is already created, and it's more of you can just click and apply it, which is better for a non-technical person. So you've got a lot more power to be able to manage your own website simply with these software as a service products. But if you are, like WordPress is great for like blogs and content-driven websites. But it depends really what your options are. So if I was kind of like I was disappointed with my website and I wanted to we're not talking marketing, we're just talking practical here. I'll just be asking those questions. What content management system should I use? You know, how can I get a design done cost effectively? What are the different elements of the design that I need to incorporate? And one of the things I like to help people with is something called a blueprint. So before you even touch a website, a blueprint is basically planning your website, right? So one thing that I find is quite helpful is wireframes. So this thing over here is a wireframe. So before you even touch your website project, just have a look at websites and draw some of these wireframes and go, okay, I want a website. So this is a landing page, but I want a website. You know, here's a good example of a wireframe. You know, the links across the top, maybe have a static sidebar. Right here, I'll put in my opt-in, name and email. I might have an incentive here, so, you know, if you buy opting in, you get this. Having, you know, the where on that's here. You know, one thing with art websites I think are quite relevant is those sliders. Have you seen those sliders? So you come to the homepage, and then you're featuring the latest work or a new event. That slider is, I think, really important. And then having directionals, so making it clear for people to find what they want. So click here for my work, click here for why me, click here for our gallery. You know? So wireframing is, one of the sayings I like to say is there's only so many ways you can fold a piece of paper. So, you know, there's only so many ways you can design a website. The design, the creative aspect is what goes on top of that. You know, your colours and so on. I'd probably be more concerned about wireframes initially and then look at how that will visually look later on. And you can get, most websites are quite similar in look. Things that make them different are those sliders and those banners. So it's not as complicated as what people think it is. The other thing as well is, just wanted to draw this. I think and I saw this at a lot of websites in New York, for artists that jump on some sites, the galleries are quite important. So I think the way I would do a gallery, we've got a similar wireframe, and one of the links would be my gallery. Having gallery categories, so having, you know, that's why I asked for the name of the work before, is maybe having a little banner and the name of the work, they click on that. So, you know, but you might, this is if you're clicking straight into that particular gallery, but you might also have types of galleries. So you might have your work, but categorize that into, this is good for lifestyle, this is good for cafes. You know, you make it easy for people to find your work. And then once they click on there, a lot of people just have photos, where I think content was a bit neglected. So having the photos, and maybe if it's like a sculpture, what do you call it? Sculpture. You might have a few angles, and then having some key features right next to it, and then that form. So I think galleries are how you do your galleries is critical for your actual website, not your landing page stuff, but when people actually are looking at your work.